Good morning. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Seiko 5KX reference SRPD55K1. I paid £193 for this watch and I bought the watch from Amazon. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in. The Seiko 5KX comes in this black cardboard outer box, and inside the outer cardboard box one has the watch box. So the watch box is also made from cardboard and it has the new Seiko 5 brand logo, and it's finished in this galvanized steel effect. Now, the effect of the finish is aesthetically pleasing, but however, I consider the throwaway cardboard watch box that this piece comes in to be very disappointing. I appreciate that it's a low tier price point piece at only £193, but I really think Seiko could do better than a throwaway cardboard box. For example, if one compares this watch box to an Orient watch box of the Kano or the Kamasu respectively, the plastic watch box of the Orient pieces at a similar price point are of a higher standard. So inside the lids, the watch itself is protected by this foam piece to protect the watch from scratches and scuffs in transit, and the watch itself sits on a padded pillow cushion. So with regards to the presentation, it's acceptable, but however, I just would prefer a higher quality plastic watch box with a hinge lid rather than this cardboard throwaway watch box that they use. So I'll talk you through the other items that come with the watch. The watch comes with this cardboard tag with the new Seiko 5 brand logo, and on the reverse one has the barcode and reference number of this 5KX SRPD55K1. One also gets a European guarantee instruction booklet. On the last page of the booklet, one has the European guarantee card. Now, I bought this watch from Amazon, as I've discussed, so therefore the warranty card is not stamped. However, Seiko will honour it at any of their European authorised dealers if you present the watch with proof of purchase. So, for example, if you buy this watch from Amazon, you simply print out your invoice for the purchase, and the Seiko authorised dealer will honour the guarantee if you return the watch with proof of purchase. So, comprehensive European guarantee booklet translated into multiple languages, and it details how to make a warranty claim. The watch also comes with this very comprehensive instruction manual, and it details how to operate the automatic movement used in this piece, which is the 4R36. It's translated into multiple foreign languages, and it goes into great detail about how to operate the movement, including how to hand wind and hack the movement, setting the time and day-date complication. So a very useful read if you're unfamiliar with Seiko automatic movements such as the caliber 4R36. So with regards to the watch itself, this is a divisive watch. Some collectors love it and some collectors hate it. The Seiko SKX 007 and 009 respectively were produced from 1996 to 2019 inclusive. And then Seiko discontinued the SKX series in 2019 and they were replaced by the 5KX you're looking at here. As this has proved to be a divisive piece because collectors are disappointed that this 5KX lacks some of the features of the SKX, which it supersedes. But however, there are some positive enhancements over the SKX. So there are some positives to the watch and there are also some negatives which I will discuss. So with regards to the specification of this Seiko 5KX, it has a 43mm case, it has a 13mm thickness, and it has a 22mm lug width. So the dimensions of the 5KX case are exactly the same as the SKX, which it replaces. It has 168 grams heft, including the oyster style stainless steel bracelet, and it's glazed with a hardlex crystal. So as far as the specification, it's very similar to the SKX because it uses a similar hardlex crystal and it also uses the same case and the bezel. But however, there are some aspects to it which make it inferior. The 5KX uses a push-pull crown. Now, unfortunately, the push-pull crown doesn't provide the same level of hermetic seal as the screw-down crown used in the SKX 007 and 009 respectively. The screw-down crown on the SKX provided 200 meters of water resistance. It was a more effective hermetic seal, and therefore the watch met the criteria of being ISO certified as a dive watch. The other notable difference of the 5KX is it uses a screw-down exhibition caseback, and again that doesn't provide the same level of hermetic seal as a solid stainless steel caseback used in the SKX. The SKX's screw-down caseback provided a 200-metre water-resistant hermetic seal, but unfortunately this exhibition caseback only provides 100 metres of water resistance. So as you can see, these are two notable differences between the SKX and the 5KX respectively, the push-pull crown and the exhibition caseback compared to the screw-down crown and solid stainless steel caseback. Personally, I like the exhibition caseback. Although the 4R36 movement is undecorated, there's no pelage finishing and the rotor is undecorated, there are no blued screws in the movement. It is nice to see the balance wheel running and also the rotor winding the movement. So I like to see an exhibition caseback, but however, it is a disappointment that it only provides 100 metres of water resistance. One aspect I do find disappointing is the lack of a screw-down crown. I really think it's a clear cost-cutting measure by Seiko. They could have included a screw-down crown because this is the same case as used on the SKX 007, so it wouldn't have been difficult for them to use the same screw-down crown in the 4R36 movement. Now, the other notable difference is if you look at the aluminium bezel insert, the dots only index the first 20 minutes of the dive timing bezel. On an SKX, the dots are 60-minute ticks all the way around the bezel, and I really think that that's more symmetrical and also more aesthetically pleasing, but it's also more functional in terms of setting the minute hand to the minute ticks on the bezel insert. It works better if those dots continue all the way round to the 60-minute mark rather than just having the first 60 minutes of the timing bezel indexed. Now, the other notable difference is there's a lack of a Lume pip in the silver triangle at 12 o'clock, and that's a real disappointment, not just from an aesthetic perspective, but I actually think that for this to be a credible dive watch, it should have 200 metres of water resistance and therefore meet the criteria of ISO certification, but it also really needs to have a Lume pip on the bezel insert to be a credible dive piece. So I would describe the 5KX as a dive style watch rather than being a credible 200 metre water resistant dive watch. And it's a shame because this watch does have the improvement of the 4R36 movement. So with regards to the 4R36, it's an upgrade on the 7S26, which was used in the SKX 007 and 009 respectively. In terms of build quality, the 4R36 is of a similar build quality to the 7S26, but however it does have the advantage of hand winding and hacking, which means that one can hack the movement to set the time precisely to the second, and one can also hand wind the movement to top up the 40-hour power reserve. It runs at the same beat rate as the 7S26 at 21,600 vibrations per hour. Now, the disadvantage of that 21,600 vibration per hour beat rate is the second-hand judders. It doesn't sweep smoothly around the dial like a movement with 28,800 vibrations per hour beat rate with a frequency of 4 Hz. So some collectors dislike that about that beat rate. They would prefer it to use the higher beat rate of 28,800 to get a smoother sweep to the second hand. Personally, I don't regard it to be a problem, but some collectors do dislike that aspect of that beat rate. So it's a 24 joule movement. It has 3 extra joules compared to the 7S26. So I do think the 4R36 is a better quality movement because of the hand winding and hacking, but it does run at the same beat rate. It has a similar accuracy of -35 to +45 seconds per day. I'm pleased to report that the 4R36 in this piece is running at +15 seconds per day, which is perfectly acceptable for a 4R36. Now, with regards to the bezel action, it's very similar to the Seiko SKX. It's got a nice firm resistance, a good solid bezel action with loud clicks, and I like that. It's something I really like about Seiko watches. They do have a very good solid bezel action. Minimal backplay, and I'm pleased to report that the triangle in the aluminium bezel insert lines up perfectly. The alignment is good on the chapter ring, the 12 o'clock index on the dial, and also the triangle of the aluminium bezel insert. The Seiko SKX was known for having characteristic production defects of chapter ring misalignment and bezel insert misalignment, and I'm pleased to say that this is something that Seiko seems to have addressed with regards to the 5KX. The alignment of the 5KX does seem to be better than on the SKX 007 and 009, and I think that's good because really chapter ring and bezel insert misalignment at any price point is unacceptable. I think that it was a shame that Seiko were producing good quality watches, but the quality control and the build's quality with regards to their alignment was very poor on the SKX. So the 5KX has a good quality control and also good build quality. The alignment is better than the SKX 007. Similar dial layouts with the 5KX. It has the same dial as the SKX, but the indices are applied rather than just being printed on, and I think that that's an improvement. It uses the exact same hands. The hour, minute and second hand are the same on the SKX, and they're also interchangeable. The hands and the dials are interchangeable between the 7S26 and the 4R36. Now, with regards to the bracelet, it uses an oyster style bracelet and it's finished with a brushed satin finish on the top side and underside. The flanks of the bracelet are polished to a mirror finish. But I want you to look closely at the edge, the flanks of that mirror polishing. You can see a line down the centre of the links, and that's a disappointment. It's clearly a cost-cutting measure in production that Seiko pressed together two halves of a link to make one solid oyster link, and that leaves this seam. You have a line all the way down the centre of the links in the bracelet when you look at the flank, and unfortunately that seam catches the light. When you tilt the piece in the light, you can see the line running down the centre of the links, and I really dislike that. I like to see the use of solid links in an oyster bracelet, and I don't like to see the line of the seam where they press the two links together. I think it's a cost-cutting measure and it really spoils the piece. With regards to the 2-button push flip-lock clasp, it's made from pressed metal. It's signed with the Seiko brand logo, it's engraved very well, but unfortunately the interior of that pressed metal flip-lock clasp is just a polished stainless steel finish, and I have to be honest with you and say that this is the major disappointment of the watch. I really think it's unacceptable in 2020 for Seiko still to be using these abhorrent, poor quality pressed metal clasps. Really at this stage they should be using solid stainless steel milled clasps, and another disappointment is the use of hollow folded end links. I really think that the end links should be solid, and at this price point it's £193. I think that one would expect to see solid end links in a oyster bracelet rather than these cost-cutting measure hollow folded end links. So two disappointments: the pressed metal interior of the clasp and also the hollow end links. The bracelet itself is finished to a good standard, and there's minimal play with regards to the pins going through the centre link. So the actual articulation, the build's quality and the finishing is good throughout. But I just like the fit and finish of the hollow folded end links. Really the watch could have been improved if they used solid end links. With regards to the execution of the push-pull crown, it is very good. It's silky smooth to operate. Now, although it doesn't provide the same hermetic seal as a screw-down crown, the coin edge finishing is very good. It's unsigned, but I actually find that to be very aesthetically pleasing, and I like it. It's nice to be able to manually wind the crown without unscrewing it to top up the 40-hour power reserve. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how the watch fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the bracelet. I've simply taken the watch out of the watch box, and as you can see it fits my 8-inch wrist with no problem whatsoever. So like the SKX 007, very comfortable piece, and the advantage of having a 6mm lug-to-lug measurement is that it will fit snugly around a 6 to 7-inch wrist, so a collector with a smaller wrist and also a 7 to 8-inch wrist respectively. So this really is a watch that will suit a collector with any size wrist. The 43mm case is quite large, but it does fit comfortably on a smaller wrist. So if you're a collector with a 6 to 7-inch wrist, I would have no reservations in recommending this watch to you because of the snug fit of the 46mm lug-to-lug measurement. Very comfortable piece to wear with that the screw-down exhibition case back, which is glazed with mineral crystal. So it does feel very flat and very comfortable on the wrist. Now, the watch is 13mm thick, so it's the same thickness as a Rolex Submariner, and therefore it will easily fit underneath a shirt cuff. So it does look very good on the oyster bracelet, and it does feel very comfortable to wear. I would say that the feel-good factor of this watch is a real positive because it does give the feeling of wearing a Seiko SKX, but it does have the enhancement of movement with hand winding and hacking. And I like that about it. I think that the hand winding and hacking is definitely a notable improvement on the 7S26. That really was the major disadvantage of the SKX, that one couldn't hand wind and hack the movement. So what do I think of the watch overall? Well, firstly I'll give you a lume shot and then I'll surmise the piece. So just bear with me and I'll turn the light out, and then I'm going to charge up the lume using my 100 LED torch. So as you can see, the lume is already beginning to glow very brightly, and that's just from the charging of my desk lamp, but I'm going to charge it up to the absolute maximum using my 100 LED torch, and then we can see the peak performance of the Lume Bright. Now, I regard Seiko Lume Bright to be some of the best lume in the watchmaking industry. It really is very close to Rolex Chromolite, or alternatively Swiss BGW9 Superluminova in terms of brightness and the length of time that the lume glows. Seiko Lume Bright really is outstanding. Now, the thing I really like about Seiko is they don't cut any corners with their Seiko 5 pieces. They use the same quality of Lume Bright on their low tier pieces such as this 5KX as on their high tier pieces such as the Seiko Sumo, for example. And as you can see, it's just incredible. The lume is glowing very brightly, and I'm confident that it will also glow for a good length of time. Using the same hands as the SKX means that this watch has incredible legibility in low light conditions. The lume is glowing in a very aesthetically pleasing green tone, and I really like it. I think that the applied indices are an improvement over the printed indices of the SKX, and also it's just clearly legible. One can clearly see the orientation of the dial because it has the triangle at the 12 o'clock index. So very well executed lume, and I really think that Seiko deserve full credit for that. It's something I really like about this watch. The Lume Bright is just outstanding. So with regards to lume, it just doesn't come any better, and I think bearing in mind the low tier price point of this watch, to get good quality lume like that at only £193 is a real positive. So what do I think of the watch overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, I look for the watch to meet two criteria. The watch should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So I consider this watch to be excellent value. At £193, there are some very good positive points. It's a day-date complication piece, and it does have a 4R36 movement, which is the same movement used in higher tier Seiko pieces such as the Seiko Turtle, the SRP series. So very credible choice of an automatic movement with hand winding and hacking, and I really like that upgrade from the SKX, the 7S26. So I like the movement, and I also like the lume. The Lume Bright is very good quality, as I've shown you. With regards to negatives, unfortunately the negatives do detract from the quality. The lack of the lume pip on the bezel insert is a disappointment. The use of the hollow folded end links is a disappointment, and as I've discussed, the interior of the pressed metal clasp is poor quality. So those are negatives, but however they are negatives that one could live with, and also the 100 meters of water resistance due to the push-pull crown and exhibition caseback. But really, I feel that the positives outweigh the negatives. I think that the movement and the excellent quality lume and the overall build quality, and the fact that it doesn't suffer with the same chaptering misalignment and bezel insert misalignment that one usually gets with an SKX, make this an excellent quality watch. So yes, I do think it's excellent quality, and yes, I do think it's excellent value at the £193 price point. So I'm going to declare this watch a champagne watch for lemonade money. I think it's a heavy hitter, and I think it is worthy for consideration for any watch collector's collection. I really like it. I think it's a good watch, and I think it's an excellent automatic piece. If you're a collector that's new to the hobby of watch collecting and you're looking for a first automatic watch, or you're looking for a good base watch to modify. So lastly, I'll just explain the interchangeability, the compatibility of the SKX007 and the 5KX respectively. The watch uses the same case, so the case, the bezel and the bezel inserts on the SKX and the 5KX are all interchangeable. The crown obviously isn't going to be interchangeable because on the 5KX it's a push-pull crown, on the SKX it's a screw-down crown, so that's the only part you can't change. The crown and stem on the 7S26 will not fit a 4R36 and vice versa. On a positive note, the bracelets of the SKX007 will fit the 5KX. However, The fat spring bars in an SKX will not fit the case of the 5KX because the holes are too small in the 5KX case. So if you're intending to buy this watch and fit an SKX Jubilee bracelet to it, for example, you'll need to use the SKX spring bars in the case because the 5KX spring bars, because the SKX spring bars are too fat. So spring bars are not interchangeable, but the bracelets are interchangeable. So on a positive note, if you want to modify this watch, the Hardlex crystal is the same. You can modify it with sapphire crystals from Crystal Times. The bezel inserts between the SKX and the 5KX are both interchangeable. So for example, you could fit a SKX bezel insert to this watch to get the Lume pip, which would improve it. So I like that. I like the fact that this is a good starter watch for a collector. With a budget of £200, if you're looking for a low tier piece with an automatic movement, this really does suffice. It does do everything that you would want it to do. And in real terms, collectors aren't going to be taking this watch diving below 100 meters depth. So it really doesn't have to be an ISO certified dive piece. It really does do everything that a dive watch should do. It has a day-date complication, rotating bezel, 120 click unidirectional bezel, and I think the push-pull crown is acceptable because it does provide 100 meters of water resistance. So overall, I really like the watch and I highly recommend it. I hope you've liked my review of this Seiko 5KX, reference SRPD55K1. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.